Hi there, I'm Deb Hiett, and I am an actress and a playwright and a director based in Los Angeles, and I'm also an alumnus of Theater Tuscaloosa. I think I've always known I wanted to be a performing artist. Actually, that's not true. When I was very little, I said I wanted to be a doctor, and my mom said, "That's great. What do you picture when you see yourself being a doctor?" And I said, "I see myself accepting the award for Best Doctor." And she said, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that." Fortunately for me, I went to a high school with a great performing arts program. And so my first show was Oliver in 8th grade. And I was just in the chorus. I just had a little role as an orphan, but I made a 3-course meal out of that little role. And I was bitten hard by the bug. So I also started taking dance classes at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. I was a dancer with the Magic City Dancers. You have to say it like that, Magic City Dancers. And we performed all over Birmingham. It was so much fun. We performed at the Miss Alabama pageant, okay? And I had a blast. I also had always been studying piano and singing and in the chorus everywhere, so that was ongoing. And I auditioned for and was cast in a season of Summerfest, which is now Red Mountain Theater Company. At the time, it was under James Hatcher, and that was a summer to remember because it was a job. It was a real professional job, and we were performing with celebrities. I mean, we did Little Abner with Bruce Jenner, and we did Guys and Dolls with Joe Namath as Sky Masterson. So you can imagine how much fun that summer was. I went to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Roll Tide, and my freshman year I was lucky enough to be cast in a new play by Brad Bailey, which was unbelievably wonderful and a learning experience on top of all the coursework that I was doing, because here I was in a brand new play and working with many graduate level students in this play. So I learned a ton. I soaked it all up like a sponge. I also auditioned for and was cast in Company, directed by Paul Looney and choreographed by Susan Looney. And that was also a professional gig. Like I was working with people who had done so much theater, and so I had so much to learn. I was Kathy, and I got to do the TikTok dance with my best friend Michael McKee, which was so much fun. And then the following year, my sophomore year, I got to play Nikki in Sweet Charity at Theater Tuscaloosa with Lisa Payton Gaines as Charity, and Paul directing, and Susan choreographing. Y'all, come on. It was great. It was so much fun. And I learned so much. The end of my sophomore year at the University of Alabama, there was a masterclass being taught in Memphis by a woman named Lee Theodore, who was the original Anybody's in West Side Story in the original Broadway show. And at the time, she had a dance company in New York City called the American Dance Machine, which was a living archive of Broadway choreography. And at the end of the masterclass, she offered me a scholarship in New York City, and I took it. I said yes. I did that. Much to my parents' chagrin, I moved to New York. Took a little break from college and moved to New York. I cannot overstate how much fun it was. It was really hard work. It was dance classes every day. It was performing at night. I booked a tour of West Side Story in Europe. I did off Broadway. I did regional non-equity theater. It was great. Um, and it was also frustrating because I had no skill set for self-marketing. I did not understand at all the business part of show business. So I would go to open calls, these huge open calls, and I would do okay, but I never got big breaks. I never got big shows, and it was challenging. There was also a burgeoning performance art scene that started to happen in Lower Manhattan. That was super fun, and what it was a bunch of different venues that you could bring your own material to and perform, and people would come and see it. Um, there were people that you had to approach to get those gigs, but it wasn't the gatekeeper system like we had in Midtown Manhattan. So there was a lot more freedom to do all different kinds of performance and writing, which I was really getting into and really enjoying. I'd always done some creative writing, but I really started focusing on dramatic writing. I made money for a while writing monologues for friends who needed new audition material, that sort of thing. So character development, short plays, one acts. I was in a band that was kind of a performance art band called Orson Welk, and we performed all over. It was great because it was a very do-it-yourself culture, which also meant there was a lot of terrible performance art, some of which I did, and it was okay. I think the biggest lesson I learned from those efforts was not to take everything so seriously. Not everything you write is precious. Not everything you perform has to be perfect. The more you do it, the better you get, the more you learn, and the more people you meet. So I started to figure that aspect of it out. And I decided to go back to college and got my degree at NYU in writing and philosophy, and performing at night the whole time. And out of school, I got a job in digital marketing for a publishing company, and had a great view of 9/11 from my office window. So, like so many people all over the world, I had a real come to Jesus moment about what I'm here to do in my life. And I saved up a bunch of money, and I moved to Los Angeles. What? I'd never wanted to live here before. I had friends that lived out here, but you know, I was a New Yorker. Like this, it's where my world was. But for some reason, I just thought, I should just go to Los Angeles. And so I did that. I said yes. And I was in my 30s. I had no agent. I had no film, television, commercial credits. No experience in that world at all. No training for on camera, which is different than theatrical training. Can't really explain it, but I did it. And I decided I would rather come out here and fail if I can apply my newfound understanding of marketing and the business part of show business. So I would at least try that and see how it goes. And it's gone well. So part of what I did when I first got here was get into a theater company, and which is a world I knew and understood. And as soon as I got in a play that I liked, that I thought was good, I relentlessly invited agents and casting people. When we got a review, if I could pull anything out of that review, I put it on a postcard. I sent the postcard to every agent and every casting person. And then I followed up. And I would say, we're closing in a week. Now's your chance. I got a ticket waiting for you at the box office. And I got an agent out of that, and then started getting sent out on real auditions for television and film. In New York, I'd gotten my equity card working at a theater in New Jersey. So I came out here with an equity membership. So then when I got my first film, I was able to join SAG, which is now SAG-AFTRA, which is what you need to be a member of to be in TV, film, or commercials. And then it was one small role after another, which is another big lesson, which I'm still kind of learning. It's pretty rare that there's one big break that just makes everything blow up. I had that in my head for some reason, that's what everybody has, but it's really, most of the working actors that I know, for most of them, it's very incremental. It's about being a working actor, and you never know who you're going to meet on the set of a pilot that doesn't get picked up, and they go on to work on a commercial, and they remember you, and they ask to bring you in on that, and it's that kind of business, and so that I have figured that part out, and I've been able to have small roles on shows like The Good Place, The Office, Parks and Recreation, Baskets, Barry, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development, Young Sheldon, Veep, and films like Bombshell and Booksmart. It's really, I'm playing the long con, I call it. I'm in this for the long haul. So I'm really enjoying being a working actor. There is uncertainty, there is stress. I like consistency, and this is a very inconsistent business, but I feel like I've figured out how to cope with that. And I feel like that's an important thing to figure out, if you can. Also, my writing. So as soon as I moved to Los Angeles, I started working for a guy who had needed some help editing things that he was writing, essays and the like. And he had written a memoir, and he, at the time, was looking for someone to turn it into a screenplay. And I said, oh, I can do that. And so I Googled how to do that, and then I did it on spec for him, which means he didn't pay me to do it. I just did it, and then he read it and he paid me for it. So then suddenly I'm in the world of, oh, I can figure out how to write things that people might want to produce or buy. And so I started writing some screenplays, some short films, which I ended up making with friends, which won some film festivals, and also was a thing that I would write to casting agents and other agents about, saying, here, I'm doing this, come see this. Now you can click this link and see my short film. So all these sorts of things just keep the plate spinning, the many plates spinning. But the fact that I love writing really helps. And I started writing plays in Los Angeles, full-length plays. I know, I don't get it either. But people like them, and they get produced. So that keeps happening, and that's really fun and rewarding. And part of it is that when you're an actor, so often you're just waiting for an audition. You're waiting for the phone to ring. You're hoping for an opportunity. And that's a powerless position to be in. And you have to keep your training up, and you have to keep your skills sharp the whole time, but you're really waiting for those opportunities. And more, it's about doing it yourself and making those opportunities yourself. And so writing, for me, is a big way to not go insane. And it's fulfilling all on its own. So that's my story. In terms of advice, I would say, number one, you are a business. If you're a creative person, you are a business person. So you have to approach the business aspect of what you do just as seriously as you approach training and developing technique, finding your voice, all these different things that we know we love to do. The business part is not something that I love, but it's just as important. And your clients are casting people, they're agents, they're other writers, playwrights, screenwriters, and other actors. Those are all people with whom you can collaborate. And again, you never know who you're going to work with now and later, and what their capacity is going to be in that future work. So that's important. Write the thank you notes. Of course, be professional on set or on stage or in rehearsal. But it's a mindset for me that it's a business. And you know that rejection is a part of it. Okay, that's a given, and that's almost the easiest thing to get a thick skin about. But for auditions, the audition is the job. I know, but it's great if you book the job after the audition. That's fantastic, and that's a bonus. That's a bonus, because you don't control whether or not they cast you. What you can control is the audition, how well you do, how you compose yourself, how prepared you are, and after that, it's out of your hands, which can be a relief, honestly. So I approach every audition like it's a lead role in a play. I think, who is this person? What do they want? What's the moment before? All the things that you would apply to script analysis, whether it's 2 lines or 10 pages for the audition. First of all, I think it makes a difference energetically when you come in. I've had casting people ask me about the character, tell me about this character, and I go off. I mean, I have a whole dissertation ready because I've done that work. Sometimes it scares them a little, I'm not gonna lie. It can be a little creepy. But often starting out, your character's name might be Funny Woman on the Dance Floor. So give yourself a name. The writer was not able to give you a name. Give yourself a name. The character has a name, that sort of thing. So not only does it make a difference when you're in the room, it keeps you from going insane. It gives the character you're playing more gravitas and existence, and therefore you don't feel like an insane person. Do you see what I'm saying? Keep the sanity part. So every audition is a job, and that's a good thing. So when you get an audition, score. You've got an audition. That's great. You have pages to work on. How fun. So once you've done the audition and you walk out of the room, have somewhere else to go. These days, it's a lot of self-taping at home, like this. So I go somewhere else afterwards. Have something else to do. Get it out of your head. You've done the job as best you can. Don't replay it a million times. Don't wait for the phone to ring or to get for that email ding. Have something else to do, because you're not just about any one job. That's important to remember. Again, trying to maintain sanity. Another piece of advice. Do it yourself. How lucky are we right now that we all have production studios in our pockets? Even if you only want to work in theater, You can write something, you can collaborate with someone who wants to write something, you can get friends together online, in person, whatever, and make it happen. And you can put it on video and you can upload it somewhere. That is all within your power. That's a beautiful thing. It's a real game changer in terms of the power dynamic. And casting people ask you, what is your social media following? They want to know. Do you have a presence online? Do you have characters that you do on Instagram? Do you have sketches that you've thrown up on YouTube? Or short films that have been produced that you can point them to? These days you don't have to wait as much. And like in the olden days of performance art in New York, it means that there's a lot out there, not all of it quality work. But you could still do it. And it's the doing, it's the creation that is the fulfilling part. You never really can control how many people click like or how many people give you a role. But you can create, and you can do that yourself. And again, not only is it fun, but you're maintaining your sanity and you're being a creative person, and that's why you got into this probably in the first place. So I highly recommend that. And let's see, what inspires me? People watching, a lot of people watching. I like to read other people's work. I like to read plays. I like to read screenplays. There's a lot of material online, for better or worse, scripts that you can read that you don't have to go buy, that you of course can go buy. But read plays and read movies. Read biographies. There's always amazing inspiration to me in biographies. I'm a terrible artist. I cannot draw. I cannot paint. But I do it because it feels great to do something that isn't part of business, but is still creative. I can suck at drawing, and it doesn't matter. And it feels good to do something that really nobody's ever going to see, because nobody's ever going to see it. And do things that you can suck at, that it's okay to suck at. Do things and suck at them. That's my advice for you. Take breaks. Take breaks. That's self-care. They call that self-care now. And I highly recommend it. For me, it's baking and gardening. And I think part of it's because you start with a bunch of eggs and some other stuff, and then you end up with a beautiful cake. There's a creation and then a result, whereas so often in the performing arts, we're doing things that are sending energy out into the world that don't necessarily come back in ways that we identify immediately. Yet, if I put a seed in the ground, then I have kale. That feels really good. So do things that feel really good. And of course, when it's safe to do so, support your local theater. And I'm going to start crying now, but it really matters. Theater really matters. And I'm so grateful for Theater Tuscaloosa and for Red Mountain Theater Company and my high school program for really giving me so much experience and education and hope and inspiration and opportunity. I think going forward we're going to see a really beautiful growth period in arts organizations, large and small. because there's going to be more diversity, there's going to be more energy and enthusiasm, and I look forward to that because I love it. I love theater, and I love Theater Tuscaloosa, and thank you. Thank you so, so much.